All right. Welcome, everyone. This is the last session of the day before the concert and the evening activities, so I appreciate you choosing to attend this one. We'll hopefully make it interesting enough for you. So just as introduction, so I'm Kiran, Bellare, product manager for agents, which you probably heard about in other sessions. I also have with me my colleague, Julia Wiesinger, who's going to be also product manager on Vertex. And there's nothing better than hearing about the product from customers who are actually using it. So we've invited Josh Weiss from IHG and Alex McGillis from Rocket Mortgage to also talk about this. So agents is a hot topic in the industry, as you probably heard from session. So what we're going to cover in this session is provide you an overview of agents, and then also show you a demo of how to build an agent rapidly. And then we'll go through a few agents that we've already built. Julia is going to walk through the data science agent, and then there'll be a couple of other agent efforts that have been built by not just us, but by our customers as well. So you're probably familiar with this. This is the Vertex AI, the three-tier architecture stack, and where agents and agent console is in the upper tier. And basically, it provides a set of enables developers or customers to essentially build agents along with other services that we offer in this layer, including, for example, for search, retrieval, summarization, grounding services. What is an agent? So think of it, an agent as an application that orchestrates conversations as well as transactions, and also instructs the LLM, and it's powered by natural language prompts. So this has several advantages over incumbent bot development technologies that have existed in the past. For one, it's simpler because you're using natural language instructions versus code. It's also faster because you don't need to define state machines, you don't need to do intent training. In cases, it also supports robust conversation handling, and it integrates with the various enterprise apps. So this has several advantages, which has actually democratized bot development. Specifically, what it does is 5 things. One is it preserves the conversation context. It also connects to various tools, and we define tools fairly broadly. It can connect to, for example, a RAG vector store. It can also connect to several enterprise applications that you might have. It could be Google's 1P services. It could be external 3P services that you work with to fulfill transactions or to run queries. It also summarizes and grounds the responses that are coming from these tools. And it also plays a role in terms of routing between different agents. So what this means is you can have an architecture where you have a steering agent and several specialist agents, and you can kind of route the conversation between these. So it's a pretty powerful concept that allows you to kind of scale and expand the use of these agents. Finally, it does reasoning. So you can basically it supports reasoning for complex prompts that you might have, like placing orders, making bookings, et cetera. We have agent builder products for different kinds of customers and users. So we have a no-code agent console that I'm going to show later on in a demo. But we also have a code-first stack in terms of you can use some of the pre-built components and applications, and basically use a managed LangChain orchestration framework to kind of customize and build your own agents as well. So both options are available to you. So if we look at, we looked at across all our customers, there are essentially 4 types of agents that are being used to address a plethora of use cases. And this spans across multiple functions within the company, as well as multiple industry verticals. So the first one is customer agents, right? So these are customer-facing agents that are used for either support use cases, B2C, it could be B2B as well. Travel is a good example of this, and Josh is going to spend some time talking about this as well. There are also employee agents, which are used for a variety of different functional roles, whether it's assistants, whether it's HR, sales, accounts payables, supply chain. There's a slew of other functions that we've seen this being used for. And then finally, there's knowledge agents that is used for any kind of specialized knowledge worker. Here, the intent is basically to get access to information that might be buried in your document repositories or corpuses. And then, of course, we have voice agents as well that are being used in contact centers and also for other specialized use cases. Think of point of sale of a food ordering in drive-thrus. And actually, at the last Next, we had done an announcement on this as well. It's also being used in automobiles to kind of help navigate drivers. So as you can see, there's a whole bunch, and I'm sure you have all kinds of other use cases within your company that you can think of productionizing these agents on. OK, so I'm going to talk a little bit about the evolution of Agent Console and roadmap. So our journey started way before generative AI. And since 2019, we've had a pretty robust platform called Dialogflow, which some of you might be familiar with, which has been used for a variety of, it's being used by hundreds of customers and for production workloads. It was based on intents, webhooks, and flows. And what we did was, with the emergence of generative AI in 2023, last year, we added support for generative agents. We also added features to the flows within Dialogflow, generative features. And then we also support hybrid agents, which may be a combination of flows and agents that kind of orchestrate the conversation. So that was 2023. Over the last 6 months, we've made further enhancements to these agents. So for example, the no-code console that we just announced at this Next was an outcome of the work that we did over the last 6 months. These agents now also support, these are multilingual, so you can have users that ask questions in any language, and it'll respond in the language of their choice, or in the language that they're using. It supports Gemini, our latest large language model, and it supports a variety of different tools, both Vertex 1P extensions, function calls, as well as third-party tools that you might have. So that's what we've done. And then it also supports various RAG workflows on the back end. So going forward, what we're looking at is, one is providing more support for custom models that you might have, that you may have customized or tuned over on Vertex. Also supporting various voice features. And then finally, supporting multimodal capabilities where you can upload an image and basically use that in the conversation. So that's our roadmap. Having said that, so the last thing I want to cover is the Agent Console provides an end-to-end agent lifecycle management. So this covers the entire agent developer journey, and you can see the 6 steps that are part of the journey, all the way from defining the agent architecture and the tools, all the way to defining goals and instructions, running simulations. So we have a simulator. Also being able to add and curate examples. So this is a pretty important part of the overall agent development journey, because with the examples, the agents get more specific, and they're able to you're able to improve the quality of these agents, and I'll show you how. And then finally, after you deploy these, we also log the conversations in production and allow you to monitor, analyze these conversations, and then basically use them as for further either tuning or for example creation. So let's do this. So let's jump into the demo. One of the things is, so doing these live demos at Next are always stressful, but there's one thing that stresses me out even more is getting my car fixed. So it just happened last week, and my car had a breakdown, and I said, let's build an agent to try and fix my car. So that's what I'm going to show. All right, so hopefully you can see the demo screen. Yeah. So let me clear this a bit. And so what you're seeing is the basic Agent Console interface. As you can see, you can use a variety of different models. In this case, I'm going to use Gemini Pro. And hold on, give me 1 second. I need to pull up something. So just to speed up this demo, because I do have 3 other presenters, I'm going to basically just copy and paste the prompt so we don't lose much time typing. So as you can see, so this is the simulator. This is where you feed instructions, and right now it's an empty agent. So what I'm going to do is start a conversation. It is hooked up to the model, but there are no tools. There's no instructions to this. And so I'm going to ask a question like, what do you know about car repair? And I don't expect much because it doesn't know who it is. And so it says I don't have any information about car repair. So now I'm going to go ahead and add give it a goal, right? So I say you are an expert car mechanic who knows how to diagnose and fix cars. And then I'm going to add a couple of instructions. So one thing about these instructions is they can you can make them fairly intricate. So this is a pretty simple instruction. It says greet the user and then answer questions about cars and car issues to the best of your ability. But you can have sequential steps that you specify in the instructions. You can put a little bit of conditional logic so that it kind of evaluates and it takes the right action depending on the logic you specified in these instructions. So let me save this. I'm going to refresh the conversation in the simulator, and then I'm going to ask the same question again. And so this time around, hopefully it's gotten a little smarter and it knows what it does. And it says, I know a lot about car repair and I can help you fix problems. So now it's aware of who the agent is. So now I'll ask a very generic question like, I was having issues with my Tesla battery. So I'm asking a question like, how many miles does a fully charged battery for a Tesla 2019 Tesla 3 give? And hold on, let me try again. So this time it didn't work, but what it should do is it should use the world knowledge to basically respond to this and give you the accurate miles that it has. So what I'm going to do is, let me ask another question about where do I get this fixed? So I asked something like, the battery doesn't charge fully, so where in San Francisco can I get this fixed? And it doesn't know, but it doesn't have any real-time information. So what I'm going to do is hook up a tool to it. So what a tool is basically and let me show you what this tool looks like. So it's an open API spec that you can basically copy and paste. It provides a description of what this tool does, and this gives the information to the agent so it knows exactly when to invoke it. And so over here, I'm going to add this tool, and I'll add an instruction that says something like, yeah, I can just type this out. You can also use $, and so I'm invoking this tool to help you okay. So now that I've saved it, let me try this question again. And I think the first time it won't go through because there is a bug that we're actively fixing, which I just discovered yesterday about this, but let's see how it works. Yeah, so I'm going to ask the same question again. Yeah, so this time what it did was it basically reached out to the tool, it queried the tool, and as you can see in the simulator, you see a lot of detailed information about the actual query, the response you got. So you can use this to kind of debug if there are issues either with the tool API spec or if there are issues within the, the prompt that it's getting. And so it's basically given me a few options. So one of the things I can do at this point is save it as an example, because as I said earlier, examples are important to kind of help the agent with respect to answering questions. But there's one other cool feature in here. So within the example, it allows me to curate correct these examples or add more, like over here, I can make the agent response more creative or make it shorter. So I can kind of customize this. So I'm going to try and customize this response and say something like display this listing in a bullet point format. And what it's doing is now it's kind of reformatting this, right? So this is how you build examples to kind of tailor the response of the agent in how you want it. So here I've kind of fixed the formatting. You might be able to get additional information from the tool as well and display it. So you can kind of set up your example so that it answers correctly. So what I'm going to do now is, let me just clean up this example before I save it. So and I'll get rid of these prompts because these were just to help clean up the example. So now this is a clean example I have. I'm going to give it a name. Let's call it Tesla Repair Shop Lookup. All right, so now I have this example saved, and it's going to be triggered. So this was the previous example, legacy example that I used, which I had disabled. So now, now that I've saved this, let's go back to the agent. And I'm going to ask a completely different car. I've been having issues with my other car, so I'm going to ask a different question. And hopefully, it should have learned from this example. So I'm going to say, I have a Prius, and it has a creaking sound in its chassis. So, and I'm going to give it a different place as well. So I'm going to say Los Angeles this time. And this time, it got a little smarter because with the example now, it's querying the right tool at the right point, and it's also retrieving the right answer in the right format for other questions as well. So this is how you incrementally basically train the bot to basically provide better quality responses. All right, so let me do this. So let me switch back to the presentation, and I'm going to invite Julia, and she's going to show you a data science agent that we've built.
Thank you. Awesome. Hello and welcome. So really excited to show you a little bit more depth as to what you can do. Kiran did a great job of outlining kind of the early way to start with an agent and how you start building and iterating on those agents. And as we think about that, we also want to start to build out specific use cases that we see a lot of our customers asking about where we can potentially really provide some value for you all. And one of those areas specifically is the data science world. We've seen how there are many, many knowledge workers out there. So about 1 billion or so of knowledge workers and low-code domain experts that want to unlock the power of data analysis and visualization. These are folks that classically and historically have not been able to code and have relied on data analysts for SQL queries and for other things in order to actually get the information that they need for their jobs. And so one of the things that we've been looking at is actually how can we take essentially an agent and actually templatize that from a data science perspective and give you something that you can put into your organization where it is most useful to you. And so I'm not as brave as Kiran is, and I have to also be honest that this is the second Next where we've had a little bit of issues with Wi-Fi, and when you're relying on more complex prompts, I will be using a video in this case, but we did do this live this morning, and I'll walk you through a little bit more details around, around this video. So let's see. Oh. How can I get this to play? Nope. Can you give me control to the mouse? Nope. I thought I was being safe using a video, but you know, You live and you learn. It is what it is. It goes to the next slide. There we go. All right, now we've got it rolling here. All right, so I am going to see if I can pause this here along the way. Oop. All right, I'm going to hit pause here, or is it already? It's already working on the next one. Let's see. This was working earlier, I promise. I did actually test it. All right, I'll walk you through the video as it's going. Essentially, the use case here is that we have a new foundation product that we've essentially come to the market with, and we've done an analysis with about 1,000 users that are essentially giving us feedback on the product. We've uploaded a data set. We've given it the key question and answers that it can respond with. And then we've essentially started by asking it, what are all the different analysis options that we have here that we can do? And it told us a long list of those things. And then we actually went into and asked it for a correlation analysis. That was the very first video or the very first thing that you see here. And it gave us some insights on the different correlations between those different questions that we asked to understand what are the things that are kind of most useful and most interesting and drive the user's behavior and drive the buying patterns and recommendations from what we should do with that. From there, we actually went in and asked it to generate overall trends and visualizations. So we didn't just go from code and correlation analysis. We actually asked it for each of the 10 questions, can you give us an overview of the distribution? And I would love to pause there and show you a little bit more about that. But essentially, we asked it, we looked at those different visuals and looked to understand the different trends that are happening there in the data set. And then, in this next example, we essentially told the model, hey, what are other types of things that we can do with this? And specifically, we'd like to understand a little bit more about what influences the performance specifically. Like what are the key kind of aspects that are important to the user in making a repurchasing decision? And for that, we actually had to, first off, it identified that there's missing values in the data set. So there's 1,000 questions, or there's 1,000 kind of responses, and there's several missing values. And we first asked it here to look at those missing values, to deal with them, and then to do imputation. So it actually edits the data set on the fly. As you can see here, updates that data set in its back end, and essentially, and so that we can then ask it to do the next step, which is a regression analysis, which it told us to do in the beginning. So we essentially are setting this up to ask the agent, what should we do first, and then asking it to take those steps kind of with us on this specific journey. And as you can see, as the last step here, we've actually asked it to proceed with the regression analysis, and it's going to go back into the system and actually look at that data set, access the right libraries from a code perspective, and then actually perform that regression analysis on the data set so we can understand what are the coefficients and the factors that are most likely to influence a repurchase decision. And then not only does it do that and provide us the code, so if we do want to jump into the code, we can understand the code, it also gives us recommendations and summarizes that in natural language for us to understand. And that's the beauty here. You're putting together an agent that is planning on the one side, executing and generating code on the other side, and then summarizing that code, the outcomes based on that specific data set. So this is where it starts to get really powerful, and we're starting to put those pieces together so that you can start actually testing this and using this within the platform so that we can bring data analysis to those 1 billion knowledge workers and low-code domain experts on a daily basis. This feature is still in private preview, so if you are interested, please do feel free to follow up. and there is a link to the form here. That I get to apologize that we had such issues with the demo here, but hand it off to Josh from IHG to share a little bit more about his experiences using the Vertex Agent Builder.
Hey everyone, so first of all, how many of you have heard of IHG Hotels and Resorts? Okay, that's most of you, but you've definitely heard of our brands. We have 19 brands, 6,300 plus hotels, over 100 countries, Kimpton, Holiday Inn, Intercontinental, and we're an 80-year-old company. We're not a technology company. We are a hospitality company. And one thing about hospitality is we don't roll things out till they're perfect. Could you imagine staying in a hotel that didn't have air conditioning or elevators that worked? We can't. So we have a culture that really values excellence and perfection in service that we deploy to our guests, but we're working in a technology world that can't run like that. So we're actually going through at IHG a cultural change at the same time we're going through a technology change. And we're taking advantage of all of these things and working with Google to use generative AI to be a partner in travel planning. And we use the word partner really, really deliberately because our brand is all about true hospitality for good. And we really take that true and good part very, very seriously. So if our customers don't feel like we're partnering with them, like they can trust us, like we are protecting them, their physical safety as well as their data safety, we're not going to build that relationship, and we're not going to be successful. So it really is about partnership. And at the end of it all, we really are about making travel dreams come true. And so how do we harness Gen AI to really help our customers make those dreams come true? And obviously that benefits the bottom line too. Because we're not only competing with other hotels or other places to stay, we're competing with any type of discretionary spend, any investment that someone might make in themselves or their families or their experiences. And we believe that travel is one of the most valuable investments that people can make in themselves and in experiences. So how do we help those dreams come true? Well, we built on a foundation of a lot of years of work with actually a lot of Google products, right? We call it Explore, and it's basically optimized search pages that help you when you Google any topic, like pet-friendly hotels in Boston. You'll probably get lots of Kimptons because they will let you bring any pet as long as it fits through the door. That is literally their policy. People have tested that. So you bring your pet to a Kimpton, you Google that, you might Google food, hotels in great food cities in San Francisco or wherever you want to go, and the content is all optimized for that. And we definitely see results from that, but it's still search. It's not really discovery. Now, we relaunched our mobile app in 2022 and saw immediately 30 to 40% growth in all of the key metrics because we really designed that app to be a machine about driving bookings and conversions. And it does a great job of that. But it does that for people that kind of know where they want to go. They know when they want to go. And it's very, very structured to optimize for people that have that intent. We built wish lists to help them sort of save hotels and discover new places, maps with interactive content that you can zoom in and out and see where the hotels are, and even a rate calendar so that when you're looking for, rewards inventory or a specific corporate rate, you can quickly look at all the dates when that's available. These features are sticky and engaging, but they don't get to the heart of what's changed because people are shifting. They really want to be inspired with travel. And so the question we were answering was, how do we engage people? How do we really start to become part of the dreaming phase, not just the phase when they already know what they want to do or where they want to go? So that's what led us to a Gen AI travel planner. Now, part of the reason we picked this was also we knew we had to be bold. We're using Gen AI in a lot of internal use cases, revenue optimization, building energy management, and literally hundreds more places in hospitality where Gen AI already does or can add value. But we picked this one because it's kind of bold, it's kind of in your face, and it would galvanize us as a company to really commit to what was most important. So coming soon to a mobile app near you. And I want to reinforce, it's all about choice. So customers will choose whether or not and when they want to engage with our AI travel planner. That's up to them. That's part of them having choice and control. Google, we already migrated over to BigQuery, so we had our data in a good place. It was really natural to build upon that. And like Kiran showed us, Vertex AI is easy. Like, even an executive could probably do that, right? I mean, I'm not saying that they should or we should, but we could. And so that accessibility and democratization of access is a tremendously valuable thing, because obviously our product teams can start to engage in ways that previously only development teams could do. And then that frees them up to do so much more. So we're building on the right foundation. So that's our Gen AI travel planner coming soon, and we're really happy to leverage a lot of these tools. Thanks. And I'm going to turn it over to Alex from Rocket Mortgage to tell you about what they're up to. Left it right there.
Thank you. All right. I'm going to try to use the stage more. Anyway, hi, everyone. I'm Alex. By the way, I'm a big Kimpton fan. We met virtually when we were doing this, and then I went on your app, and I played around with it, and I actually booked something, so it worked. Alpa, by the way, my leader is here, so vacation time coming. But anyway, I'm here for a couple of reasons. So first, this journey really started 8 months ago at Next. I don't know if any of you remember the keynote there, but they did this DMV demo, and there was an agent, and they searched, and I messaged our reps and said, how do we do this, and how do we get access right now? And I always like to tell people, I'm unapologetically high maintenance, but a great partner. And so when you build that reputation, sometimes you get things quickly. So the cool part about that was when we got what was playbooks, which is now turned agents, it really is that simple. It allows you to play. It allows you to go in and figure things out without really causing harm. It allows you to learn. And so when I was coming here to talk, it was about internal. And 3 months ago, 6 months ago, I was my job was focused on internal things. How do we help our team members answer questions? I don't know any of you if you've gone through the mortgage process. We try to make it as simple as humanly possible, but there's some things that just aren't. And so when you start looking at that, you say, how do I make things simple? How do I help solve people's problems so we can help our clients? And then just recently, I moved over to the consumer side, and you look at those same problems and you say, well, how do I help our team members answer questions? How do I help our clients get answers to questions? And so I look at this as the problem, and you may say, what does this look like? So does anybody have an idea? What do you see when you see this? You've got to really think. And it's the end of the day. Shapes that don't fit. Anybody else? Yeah, there's a frowny face. So I like that description. But I see two things. You look at these two triangles here, and I see scale. I see here on that left this is what we have, and this is where we're trying to go. I also see expectations. And what I mean by expectations is nowadays our team members, our clients, you used to be able to just pick up the phone and call, and so that's what you were trying to focus on. But now you have email, you have phone, you have chat, you have bots, and so we're expected to deliver internally and externally in all of those different ways with the same number of resources, with higher expectations. And so the question becomes, how do you scale? How do you meet expectations when you're here and everyone is talking about how you get there? There's an next problem. Right hand, left hand. How many of you guys have really experienced this problem? You think you have done the best job rolling something out. You have communicated, you have done this, and then all of a sudden the feedback starts rolling in that whatever you put in the digital world and whatever the team members got messaged didn't match. And so you start getting this whole thing of, well, I communicated this out. I solved the problem for our clients, and then I tried to solve the problem for our team members, and you get this whole thing where you just go like this. And so that is a really fun problem to solve. I think it's one we've all focused on. So when you think about these two problems, scale, when you think about, I'll call it consistency with this right hand and left hand, you go, how do you actually go to solve it? And rather than demoing or doing things, we've all seen a ton of things. We have an ism at Rocket that says simplicity is genius. And so I put it to two math problems, although maybe the bottom one is not super simple, but it gets the point. The first one, like we talked about, is scale. And when I think about output and input, value and cost, when we are trying to solve the problems for our team members and we're trying to solve for our clients, in most days today, you go and you say, hey, you got two different groups and you're solving it. But with Gen AI now, you can have one set of information, one set of knowledge that can spread across both. So instead of having to have multiple engineering teams, instead of having to have multiple process teams, you all of a sudden can say, this information is the same. We are solving the same problems and the same goals. The difference is, what's the tone or the output that I have to solve? And that is a much smaller problem to solve than scaling with people trying to solve problems. Very loud plane. The next one is consistency. And again, when I talked about left hand and right hand talking to each other, it's a really important thing, because if you're not talking to each other, that's complaints. In the mortgage space, we're all about building trust, right? If you're about to make the biggest financial decision in your life, don't you want to trust? Don't you want to know that when I go to your website, when I talk to the person, every single time I'm getting the same type of thing? That is super, super important. So this is where I bring the solution, and this is where I really believe where Vertex ties together. And when you look at it like that, and you put it like this, you still have your independent thoughts. You still have your goals of the business and your team members and phone and chat. But now you have one spot where they can all live, and you can customize it based on the tone, based on the solutions that each person is looking for. And so when I looked at this, I was like, yes, this is simple, but it does make me happy. Because at the end of the day, sometimes we talk a lot about innovation, and innovation isn't always reinventing the wheel. It's actually putting two things that didn't exist together back together. And so that's the problems we're really trying to solve, and that's how you can really scale and say, I don't have to think about things totally separate anymore. I don't have to think about our digital experience and our team member experience as being just digital. I think about our team member experience and our client experience as one source of truth, one spot where you can look at things, and that's where AI and Vertex makes it easy. That's where you can scale, because I don't have to have 100 engineers. I can put my best engineers on the right things. I can have our knowledge experts really be the knowledge experts and put in the right content and the right information. And that's what's exciting to me. I don't know if you can tell, I'm getting excited. Yeah, goosebumps. So yeah, when I think about this, when you think about scale, when you think about consistency, that's how you make two weird triangles and this lovely frown turn into a smile. So we got 30 seconds left, right on time. With that, Kiran, I'm going to give it back to you. If anybody has questions, let me know.
Thanks, Alex.
Yeah.
All right, so I just wanted to wrap up the session. Just a couple of announcements. So one is, there is a hackathon that's kicking off tomorrow, and there'll be an on-site session as well. There's serious prize money involved, 20K in cash, 10K in Google Cloud credits. So definitely encourage you to kind of use this hackathon as an opportunity to launch your project. I think it's an 8-week hackathon, and you'll get support through it. There's more details on this scan code. So that's one. Also, if you're ready to build, scan this code as well, and we can give you some special offers as well as personalized guidance from some of our experts as you go through this journey. So because we want to get you into production as soon as we can, and as soon as you can. And then finally, there are some other sessions that I encourage you to go check out. If you missed them, you can go check out the recordings. Those might be helpful as well, both in conversational AI and as well as on the general topic of agents. And then finally, your feedback is appreciated. So if you can fill that out, that would be great as well. All right, thanks.